Hey guys, it's Ryan here and welcome to another episode of Blockchain Markets. And today I have for you a very interesting interview. It's with these guys, Achain. So let's start.
Okay, and about myself, and in 2010, I was graduated from the Tsinghua University of China with a major of electronic engineering, a master's degree. And in that university, I did research on the signal modulation, optical amplifier, and the optical regeneration in the field of optical communications. And the two papers were published respectively, one of which was included by the IEEE and another is by the EI. After the graduation, I joined the Standard Ocean Group and devoted all my concentration on implementation of IT systems. And I am good at system platform designing based on the use of demand abstraction.
Interesting. Very interesting. Eric, so now if we can jump in to Achain itself, and then if you can tell me in some simple words of what is Achain.
The Achain was founded in 2015 and was originally developed by the Singapore-based non-profit organization, the Achain Foundation. In the past 3 years, we have won the first prize twice in the China blockchain competition and proposed the first RDPoS consensus mechanism. As of today, Achain supports more than 110 DApps or different cryptocurrencies and hosts a vibrant global community consisting of more than 2 million users and volunteers from more than 30 countries and regions. Okay, so now Achain becomes a big technical community around the globe, around the world.
Very interesting. And for what I've seen on your website and in past presentations of Achain, if I understand well, you guys until now you're very much focused in China, and then from this stage on, you're looking to start expanding also and looking for more the Western world as well, for them to know what Achain is.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. Getting more to the technical things, Eric, can we discuss a bit of what the consensus agreement that Achain uses, because it's rather unique. You usually hear proof of work and proof of stake or delegated proof of stake, but in the case of Achain, is RDPoS. So can you tell us what that means?
That means the R means resulted. So that's a new mechanism, and which is we started from the DApps, the mechanism, and the RDPoS simplifies the result of the transaction so that all nodes and each nodes can validate the result very easily.
So that as a result of that, you get better performance, if I understand well.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Speaking of performance, now let's talk about performance. So in the blockchain of Achain, how big is the block size, and you can tell me also like how on the generation time of exactly the size, and then the generation time of the blocks in the Achain's blockchain.
The size of block is 10 megabytes, and the generation time is 10 seconds. So both of them make their capacity is good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. One thing on that, as the community knows, that many times it comes the question of Bitcoin, on the other hand, as being able to not being able to use it in real life because of the high cost of transactions and the long time it takes to confirm every transaction. How does that work on Achain? How much is the cost of the transaction, and how fast is that transaction?
The transaction is 1,000. It's 1,000 TPS. Is the best value we can achieve now.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
But I think it's not enough. We will improve it, and maybe we can get higher value.
And yeah, if you compare it, for example, with other public blockchain platforms like Ethereum, it's quite a lot, because they're able to manage something around 15 or 20 TPS. So you guys are more the same as Neo is able at the moment to offer as well. Now, in those two examples, they're looking for in the future to really scale to much more than 10 or than 1,000 by doing off-chain solutions like Raiden in Ethereum or Trinity in Neo. What's the plan in Achain? How are you planning to scale it in the future to more transactions per second? Will be always on chain, or do you have also plans to do part of that as an off chain as well?
Can you pardon the question?
Yeah,
I don't totally understand.
Yeah, my question is, in order to have more than 1,000 transactions per second, are you looking to how are you going to achieve that? Are you going to achieve that as number one way, as looking for an off-chain scaling solution, or will you do everything on chain?
You mean the off-chain solution or on-chain solution?
Yeah.
What's that mean? You mean the off-chain? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I give an example. So, for example, in the case of Neo, they say in the case of Neo, they're looking to scale the transactions per second, not by using Neo's on-chain platform, but looking for something like Trinity, for example, which is a third-party off-chain solution that would, according to what they say, allow them to scale the transactions per second. So my question is basically, what's your plan to increase the transactions per second in the future?
Okay. I think that's not the key point to improve or increase the transaction on the single chain. We have another plan, like the forking and the connection, and maybe we will talk about the forking later, and I will tell you about the advantage of forking and the connection about Achain.
Perfect, understood.
Because I think that every chain or each chain has a limitation of their transactions, such as their use, and I think it's the farthest chain as I know. It can reach to about 8,000 transactions per second, but even higher, I can see that chain.
Perfect.
So we have another plan for to solve this problem.
Okay, understood. One thing also that I want to discuss with you, Eric, what I think one thing that makes Achain really different than other public blockchain is that you guys really embrace forking from your chain. So can you explain how that would work for let's say, and why did you decide to be able to fork your blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I introduce the forking of Achain, and I'd like to talk about the Ethereum firstly,
Yes.
which is the biggest and the most prevalent blockchain program in the world. And everyone knows that the token can be released or published on the platform by its IDE tools, but that's not the key point I want to talk about. And the truth is, the Ethereum and is a single network containing hundreds of DApps or tokens. So one node deal with all transactions in a period over time. It has a huge probability to get slow when issues happen somewhere in the network, or no token or one tokens occupied most of the calculation resource, such as the CryptoKitties. We know that. You can look at it. You can look at it as a big container with fixed processing capacity. If we keep filling, it will get slower and slower. So that's a problem of Ethereum and other blockchains. But for Achain, now we can go back Achain's forking, which provides an ability to expand its capacity while meet different needs at the same time. Simply, we divided a lot of chains from the Achain. We copied it. We will copy a new chain of Achain and modify it to satisfy specific users' demand. So that means a lot of chain to solve a lot of the transaction problem. Yeah.
Perfect. And so then
you can think about as the Ethereum like the bars. The bars has a fixed capacity.
Yeah.
But H offers a lot of vehicles like the taxi, a lot of taxi to take more passengers, and it can copy a lot of vehicles, a lot of more containers to solve this problem. Yes.
Perfect. So by forking, you basically can tailor or customize more that fork chain to more a specific industry, because, for example, insurance industry is very different than e-commerce or financial industry. So then each one can have their own fork, which is very much customized to their needs.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
We can offer different chains to customize their different needs. Yes.
Perfect, got it. One other thing that I think is also interesting about Achain, I would like to discuss it with you, is that for developers, it's also able, you guys allow developers to have a sandbox. If you can elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, basically, the sandbox is a testing environment. We can call it a testing environment. Yes, we have already made the sandbox ready for the developers, and the developers can do anything on it, and as it's totally isolated with their main network. So we will offer the sandbox to the developers, to all developers. Yes.
Interesting. So you can, as a developer, you can test that your smart contract or your DApp is working properly before you actually launch it live.
Yeah.
Perfect. Speaking of which, of developers, and you were talking about this huge community that you have already. If I'm a developer, and I want to start developing a DApp on top of Achain, where can I go? Where can I look for documentation?
Okay, they have a tool of with the name of IDE, and you can use it to implementation. Use it to force the app implementation on the sandbox. Yes, and as soon in the future we will put this tool or something like that in the wallet. That it will be convenient to be easy.
Perfect. One question that I got a lot from people in the community, mainly developers, that they said that many of them decided to go for to start developing on Ethereum because it was easy to find documentation in English. How is that in the case of Achain? I assume that when you started in China, so of course the vast part of your documentation might be in Mandarin. And how do you have also big part of the documentation in English? So English-speaking developers can also use it.
Sorry.
Yeah, my question is there all the documentation in English or for developers? The tools, yeah.
Okay. The tools is supported Chinese and English now.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that was my.
Of course, we need to offer the English version, and that will be convenient for the global developers. Yes.
Perfect. For all the developers that are hearing this conversation, I'll leave a link in the description of the video where you can go and then find more information about how to develop your on top of Achain. Now, if we go to the, let's discuss the roadmap of Achain. You have 3 different phases: Singularity, Galaxy, and Cosmos. Singularity was all about security and stability. Part of that was creating also the sandbox for developers. Now you are in the second, in Galaxy, right? Can you speak about that Galaxy, and then what does that entail? What are you doing in the Galaxy phase?
The first phase has already been closed right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we are now in the second phase. The first phase we call it the Singularity, and we will offer a secure and a stable blockchain network. Now we are now in the second phase, and the technical scheme has been discussed and determined. The right thing is to move forward and step by step. But I think that no Mark IV result will be achieved until the Q3 because it's a long-term program. And in the next phase and the third phase, we will offer the forking ability and interconnection ability to all the developers. It's their infrastructure. And next, we will devote on the cross-chain implementation, and both centralized and decentralized scheme or designing can be used. Our technical members prefer the decentralized designing because it's more secure, and as our plan deals of data and the tokens from different networks may be changed, can be turned
Mm-hmm.
to be exchanged, and it will be more convenient and be more easier. Yes.
Perfect. Interesting. One thing that you were mentioning about then in this phase where you'll be focusing later on in this year about on forking and being able to fork. How does that work for holders of the token, of the ACT token? Do they get a part of the new forked tokens?
Sorry? What about the ACT token?
Yeah, my question is like, let's say I have ACT tokens, and then a fork of the chain happens. Do I get tokens of the new fork as well?
I understand. As I have mentioned, we will copy a new chain by the Achain. So it's not the traditional forking; it's a new forking. We just use the forking to name it, but it's not really a forking because the forking sometimes brings kills to the community. Yes. So not every time we will offer the new tokens to the community members. Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
So we don't promise that yet.
Yeah. Okay. So that yeah, that's important to have it clear for the community that it is sometimes, it is not always. Yeah. Perfect.
Sometimes we cooperate with some DApps and it's good, and maybe it's we can have a long-term cooperation, and maybe we will invest it and get the tokens, and we use the tokens to reward the community member. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we're about to finish the interview, Eric. Just the last thing in terms of development of business development. Which business use cases do you see at the beginning? And if you have already some partnerships or potential customers in some specific industries that you would like to talk about?
It seems nothing.
Yeah, perfect, got it. Okay, perfect. So then for everybody, I'll leave all the links in the description. So if you're a developer, you can go and then learn more about Achain. Something interesting that we didn't discuss is about which programming languages does Achain support.
The Achain supports the Lua programming language, yes. And we will support the Java and Python languages in the future.
Perfect, and that's part of the roadmap to add Java and other languages.
Yes, we have to meet the different the need from the developers. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something really interesting that because, for example, on the Ethereum, for a developer, they have to learn their own language. Or so it is interesting for developers to be able to use the language they know to develop on your chain. Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Eric, for this interview, to tell the community everything about what Achain is all about, and then all the plans for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.